mode.
Hello everybody, this is Leslie at VCGI, and I want to welcome you to our next webinar, Leveraging Python to Revolutionize the Production of the Vermont Town Highway Maps. Our presenter today is going to be Kerry Alley from VTrans. And before I hand things over to Kerry, I am going to go through a very brief intro that many of you have been through, but for those of you who haven't done a webinar with us, I'd like to do an intro just so that we're all on the same page. So what you see in front of you, hopefully, is the How to Participate Today slide. And you can see the bullets that point out the things that you can do, and the fact that our Q&A will save for the end. And I'll show you how to submit your questions in just a sec. The first and most important thing is that you can open and close your GoToWebinar panel by clicking on this little button that's orange with the arrow on it. And when you do that, it opens or closes, there we go, your panel. I also want to point out, if anybody's having issues with audio, you want to open up your audio panel and you can change settings in there. You can indicate that you want to use the telephone or use the mic and speakers, depending on what you have. And if you are calling in, you'll find, don't use the numbers that you see here, but when you open that up, you'll see the number to call if you lost track of that at some point. So don't use the ones on the screen now. Use the ones that are in your panel. So you will submit your questions when you have them by typing them into this questions panel down below. And when you click send, it'll send it to me directly. And what that means is you can put your question in at any time. You don't have to wait till the end to actually type it in, so feel free to type it in as it occurs to you. I'll be looking at those, and if any of them strike me as being relevant at the moment, that that I should bring that up to Kerry at the moment, I'll do so. Otherwise, I'll save them till the end, and then I'll probably read them off to her. Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out is the raise your hand button. And I should have done this first to make sure you can all hear me. There's a little button that looks like an orange hand with a green arrow. And if everybody could click that button right now, what happens is that on my panel, a little hand shows up next to your name. And that way, it's a way for us to communicate, even though you're all muted. So you don't have to worry about talking on your end, because it's not going to show up on my end. So yeah, if everybody could just go ahead and click on that button so that I can see that you are able to hear me. I see that we have a question, so I'm just going to check that out. Okay. All right, so it looks like everybody can hear me, or most people can hear me, hopefully. And I think I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Kerry. Oh, I'll just mention that you will receive a follow-up email in about a day. And I think I put the link, now that I read this, I'm not sure I put the link in there, but I think I put the link to the event archive page at our website. Let me just show it to you briefly in case I forgot to put it in the email. So if you go to the VCGI website and the events page, the community resources section, the events page, if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see a link to the event archive. And you can see there's different sections. If you click on webinars, this is where I'm posting the recorded webinars. So for those of you who are wondering, the webinar is being recorded, and I post it here. If it's particularly big, I've been doing compressed versions, even though they don't get all that compressed. So I think if Kerry is ready, I will go ahead and pass it over to her.
Yep.
Are you okay? And if anybody has questions for me, again, you can use that question option, because those come to me. You don't have to worry about interrupting Kerry.
Great, thank you, Leslie. Am I live?
Yes. Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Leslie. This is a great service that VCGI is providing. And welcome to everyone who is here. And I'm here to present on behalf of the mapping unit at the Vermont Agency of Transportation our brand new highway mapping system that automates what used to be a many-month procedure. And let's get this up here. I forgot to put the Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Can everyone hear me? Okay,
Yes, sorry,
great.
you did go out for a second, but you're back.
Yep. Okay, yeah, I forgot to put the tape off the off button, which is right next to the escape button. Anyway, so okay, so here we are. I'm presenting leveraging Python to revolutionize the production of the Vermont town highway maps. And so today I will be talking a little bit about why we do in the mapping unit at VTrans and what we do and why we do it. And this is to give you an overall feel for how we do our highway mapping, and that could help you decide if you would like to take a similar approach to a project that you have, and as well as to see how customizable this process is. And I'll talk a little bit about why we wanted to change, why Python was the solution, and then give you a whirlwind tour of the tools, the templates, the layout tables, and the Python scripts that we use for our highway mapping system. And okay, so the mapping unit of VTrans has been producing the town highway maps since 1931, and originally we have 3 copies up here on the screen, some of the older ones up to one of the newer ones for the town of Tunbridge, and it has been a evolving process. And the reason we go through this effort to produce a town highway map for every town whenever there are changes in any town in the highways is so that we can document the highway classification for all the town roads and the mileage of the town highways, and use that to calculate the state aid that is used for town highway maintenance. And we call the current system that we use to produce the town highway maps our highway mapping system, otherwise known as HMS here. So each year, if towns make a change to a road classification or the amount of mileage in a road, or if it's discontinued or whatever, they need to fill out town certificate highway mileage certificates, and anywhere between 50 and 100 towns can submit changes in a given year, and for each town that has submitted changes, we need to produce a new town highway map. So when we're actually producing those maps, we need to have highways in them, structures such as bridges. We need to, for each section of road, show how many miles that section is, as well as has a shield symbol that gives the number of that particular town highway, and any feature that could be useful. We also include conserved lands and other waterways and other features on those maps. So in the past, we have used 319 individual MXDs, those are the map documents, to one for each town highway map that we produce. And that includes the towns as well as some incorporated or unincorporated villages within the towns or urban compacts. And each one of those map document files had to be updated individually to produce a new town highway map. And that is in addition to any data that needed to be updated as well. So the problem that we had with that is that the software that we use from ESRI is continuously being updated to incorporate the newest and features that can help facilitate mapping, but our current versions of the maps were not always compatible with the newer versions, and so we'd have to do a complete overhaul of each map document to create the same town highway map at a later time. And some of the features that we had difficulty with, and you can see from the image on the screen, is that we would have lots of features on the map. We would have the map of the town itself. We'd have the map of Vermont to show where in Vermont that map was located. We'd have several types of mileage tables, the legend, the north arrow, scale bars, as well as text just labeling which map it is, which town it comes from, the year, and other information. And here we show one example of a map that was run in a version of ArcGIS that was not the same as which it was developed, and we've lost some of the text that used to say what the name of the map was and the year it was produced and some other features. And that's just one example of something that would have to be redone for each map, and that was a lot of text. And remember, that would take months to do every year. Another feature is that a lot of the features of the older maps were based in Visual Basic, which is a language that ESRI is not supporting in the future. And one specific case where we had some difficulty is in 2007. About 100 of the map documents that were using ArcInfo 9.1 were rebuilt for that year's production, plus another 100 in preparation for the future years, trying to get ahead of schedule. But all of the maps needed to be retooled. Even the ones that we were doing ahead to get ahead had to be retooled in 9.2 because of changes in dynamics text, excuse me. So every MXD was rebuilt. Some of the other difficulties that we had were that we had, because this was documentation for mileage of the towns, we needed to include mileage tables, which for each class 3 or class 4 town highway, we would have this table with the town highway number as well as the length of each section according to class of that town highway. And originally, these were tables that were developed in Microsoft Access and then were outputted to a particular type of file that could then be inserted into the map document, and this was several steps. And in addition to having several steps being needed to manually put each table in each document, if we made changes in the data, we would have to wait overnight for the data frames to push the changes into the data frames where we could actually access them to then be dumped out to the new file that could be then inserted into the map document. And so there was this lag as well, and so we couldn't make changes and then immediately produce the new map with the correct mileage table. So ESRI had developed two very promising products, data-driven pages and production mapping, that could potentially have helped us with our problem, but we had to be different, and each town would be different enough that there was too much variability, so we couldn't use data-driven pages, which would automatically make a new page for each town, and production mapping was not able to do the tables that we were wanting, the mileage tables. So in this map that I'm showing on the screen now, there is one example of Class 3 and Class 4 mileage tables that's actually in 2 columns. There are 4 insets at the bottom. There's dynamic text, and we have a couple other tables as well as legends and other text elements in this. And I'll be referring to many of these elements in this map document in future slides. And here you can get a better look at it. This slide, compared to the previous one, this one only has one column in the Class 3 and Class 4 tables. And we have the dynamic text here. We only have one inset, and also some of these tables are in different positions from the previous page. Just to compare, here's the previous page, and now the following page. So this is an example of the variability that we had. Here, yet again, we have 6 insets in this map and 3 columns in this table. And production mapping was not capable of being flexible with these column reports. So just to kind of sum up the challenges and the requirements that we had for our highway mapping system, we needed to be able to have multiple insets, anywhere up to 6. We even have one map with 10 insets in it. And the mileage reports, the reporting tool that is in ArcMap could not limit it to only the data for the map shown, but wanted to print out all the data for all the towns on every map, and that was a bit much. Also, there was some pretty sophisticated dividing up of the, or reworking of the data before it was put on the map, and that was something that the reports couldn't handle. Also, each town is a different size, a shape, and requires a different layout. It might require being printed at a different scale on a different sized paper, and this insets may require all different scales and in different positions. And Sarah Moulton was the key person in saying there is just no way we can keep redoing this year after year after year. And thanks to being able to attend conferences like NEARC, the Northeast ARC Users Group meetings, and seeing what other people were doing, she wanted to be able to automate this. And so Jonathan Croft reached out to ESRI Boston, and he was connected with Jeff Barrett, who is essentially our knight in shining armor. And he is a product developer in the holistic testing and the map automation teams at ESRI. And he produced an extremely elegant solution that it has totally, completely revolutionized the way we do mapping in the mapping unit. And so that's what I'll go into now, presenting the key components of it and demonstrating a few of them to you. So the one thing I will not be spending much time on at all today is the actual data. And data is, of course, an extremely fundamental part to our maps, because without the data there wouldn't be a point for making the maps. And the data processing and quality control is an extremely long, difficult process that we go through, but this system deals with all of the difficulties that we had. Once we had the data right, we could then get the maps right. So I will be focusing mostly on the ArcMap template that we use to produce the maps, as well as a table that keeps track of all the layout parameters for every town map that we make, and the Python scripts that drive it all. Oh, and last but not least, the tools that let us interface with the Python scripts simply with just using drop-down menus and clickable options. So here we have our master map document template. This is showing a full window of ArcMap, and we've got the table of contents on the left, and we actually can see the layout in the screen. And there is a rectangle there that is showing the page dimensions, and everything that is not in there is actually off the page, and everything within that is on the page. So if we printed the map, that's what we would see. And so the key to this system is having a MXD template with all of the elements needed for the map already created. What these scripts can do is change text, change their location, change how we view things, move them around, everything, but we aren't creating the layout elements. They're already there. And for example, if you look to the right of this, there's the 6 smaller windows, and those are the potential insets for maps that you'll see later. And so this, as we have it set up, this can potentially map a town with up to 6 insets. So in addition to the map template, we have a page layout elements table, and this is what is keeping track of all the variation that we have between town, from one town to the other. So if you look at this table, this is actually a very long table, and I've kind of gotten a little clip of the far left columns of the table as well as the far right-hand columns of the table below. And the ones in the middle are all kind of similar to each other, so I left those off. But we have the column for CT code, which is the county town code that we use to represent each town or urban compact or village in Vermont. And that's how we refer to a particular map. And then we have columns for each data frame. And so there's the main data frame that shows the town and fills up most of the page. And then each inset for an area that needs to be blown up is another data frame someplace elsewhere on the map layout. So for example, for the main data frame, we'll take a look at the first row. So we have our first row that is object ID number 1, and it's for the town that has the code 0107. And then the next column for the main data frame is a string that has the text values. The first number is separated from the second by commas, and it gives the X position, the Y position, the height of the map on the paper, the width, the extent, and that would be in the coordinates, the map coordinates for the state, in Vermont state plane coordinates, to show the extent of the map as well as the scale. And we also have all of those same parameters for each inset, although we can sometimes add, as you can see here, some text that will become the title for an inset as well. And we also have information that we store down here to store the location for the locator map that shows where in Vermont each town is, as well as the legends and some of the text boxes and all of the mileage reports. And last but not least, we keep a track of what year the map is produced for and what the layout is in page size. And the 36 by 27 inches is our standard map size, although there are other sizes. So we've seen the template, we've seen the page layout elements table that keeps track of all the differences in layouts for each town, and then the force behind the mapping system are these Python scripts that Jeff Barrett developed for us. And what we can do with these scripts is we can run them to produce individual maps or batch of maps. They update which town we want to make the map of. It moves the layout elements on the map according to where they are specified in the layout elements table. And it updates any text that is showing on the map and reads in all of the mileage data, makes the tables, and displays them and arranges them. And seeing how this works is probably most easily done by actually watching it in progress. So here comes the fun part. And I'll come back to this after I actually show you what we're working with. So here we're actually in ArcMap, and I've got the standard template up here. And I'm just going to show you how we can actually produce maps this way. And I've already loaded the tools into my little Arc Toolbox here. And I'm just going to show how I could choose to run a whole bunch of maps that we produced in 2012 by clicking the tool, and it opens up this interface. And first it asks me which layout style, and I'm going to ask for our standard layout size that I was just talking about. And then based on that, it sees what years we can pick. Now we have a few extra numbers in here for other things that have not been, for other maps that have not been produced yet. But I'll give an example of some maps that we produced this year. And the options that it's showing me are the ones that are available with this layout size and this year. And I could either select them all or just select two of them. And I will just select one to save time, and you can watch it run. And you can actually see the layout updating as it goes. And I'll move this out of the way. And we also have a little bit of feedback coming on how it's going in this window off to the side. So here comes Ferrisburg. And you can see as we run this that building the mileage reports is definitely a significant portion of the time it takes to produce these maps, even when it's automated. And not only have I produced this map on the screen, but it is currently exporting it to a PDF file in a folder with other maps produced the same year. So seeing it on the screen as it is just a bonus. So this took 1 minute and 37 seconds to produce one map. And one of the really cool things is I could have selected all of the maps, and let's just say I wanted to do 100 maps, rather than sit here and open up a new MXD document, and that takes a long time in itself, which is why I had this open before starting here. You would have to open up an MXD document, export a PDF of it, close it, then move on to the next one, open it, manually export the PDF, close it, and on and on. And with this tool, we can actually click them all, click go, and then we can go to lunch and come back, and we have a stack of PDFs in a folder all ready to review or send out. So back to this particular template. We have, I'd like to point out that there are still things off the page, and those are elements that we didn't need. This map only has one inset that we can see up here, which corresponds to this area down here where this rectangle is, and we didn't need the other 5 insets. And we're no longer using this text element down here, and sometimes there are other elements that we don't use. They simply get moved off the page, and are inconsequential for this particular map. And the printout of this has been automatically dumped out to an output to 2012 and Ferrisburg. So brand new PDF printed on 12/12/12. Here we have it. And conceivably we could have run all of these that you see here in one go. Occasionally we do updates on a single map after we've done a mass production, so sometimes we do update maps individually later. So I'm going to switch to the PowerPoint just to illustrate a couple things about the maps. Whoop. Here we go. So here's another example of a map, and I've just highlighted where particular elements are. So the legend is in the top and the middle. The Class 3 and Class 4 mileage tables are on the left, and they are in 2 columns. And we actually have, in addition to mileage summaries for our for the town highways, we actually have the ramps for certain highways classified and summed up separately. And in this case, there is actually a ramp for this particular class of roads, so we see it on the table. And to contrast it with another town.
Welcome to GoToWebinar, Web Events Made Easy.
Our tables have 3 columns, legend in a different place. There are no ramps, so that part of the table doesn't even show up. It's not just a zero balance. We just had it removed to make it a simpler map. And so here we can see some of the flexibility that this automation can make. And that's because of the page layout elements table that says put the legend here, put this inset here, and so on. Oh, before I do this, I want to go back to the just explaining what the different scripts that we have are, so that now that you know what the map system is doing, the scripts will actually have a little context. So what I showed you was this export to PDF script running, where I could export a batch of towns by year and layout size. We also have another script that does essentially the same thing, but specifically we use it just to zoom into one town in case we want to play with the layouts or make changes to it. And basically we've got the script that does all the geoprocessing, arranges all the layouts, is pretty much in one course script, and we just have little tiny gateway scripts that I've actually shown up here because they're so tiny and simple that basically just say 2 different ways of getting into the main map making part of the script. So in addition to just all the scripts that make the maps and arrange them, we also have one script that if we make changes to the layout, all we have to do is run the script and it will automatically update our page layout elements table to match the new layout. And it's that easy. And I'll show you an example of that now. So, oops. So I found there's one town that we have not gotten around to producing. yet a map for. And here's an example of our last edition of this map. And this is Bristol. And this was produced in 2003. And we do not have any map documents really on hand to refer to any of the layout information, so we really will have to start this one from scratch. Although, remember, we already have the data. And so I'm going to show you how we make a new one of this. Back to ArcMap. So how would I do this? Well, the first thing I would do is I'm actually going to start with a clean copy here. It'll make it a little easier. So fortunately, we don't have to wait for the software to start up every time we want to print a map. So here we go, and here we have our empty template again. Now I could easily just make a row in the page layout elements table that represented this blank empty template, but I rarely need to go start back at this, so I never bothered. But I want to make a Bristol map, and I happen to know that the county town code for Bristol is 0103, so the first step I would do would be to go down here and change one of the text elements, which is the map ID, to the proper code, just to let the document know what map I want. And the very first thing I'm going to do is make a new entry in the page layout elements table, and I'm going to open that up so you can see it, and also to prove to you that it is not already there. So we've got CT code here 0101, 0102. We don't have a 0103, and then we keep going. And so that's what I want to do, is to produce an entry for 0103. We do that with our set layout, page layout elements. Okay, this is not the format we want, the final format we want yet, but this is how we're going to create the row first. So I'm just going to run it, and I'm going to say that the class 3 and class 4 mileage tables are only going to have one column. Just for starts. I can change it later if I want. And it is putting in a new row into the table, as we can see here. And it's done. So I'm going to open that up again. And the one thing that we don't have that table doing at the moment is, and here it is, the new row. And I am actually going to manually put in the year and the layout style for that. Oops. Get that out of the way. And I am just going to put this fake year in just so it happens to be the same as the one above it. I'm going to copy this, paste it there, and I'm going to use the same standard format, copy it there, and paste it. Whoops. Escape. Okay, I do not want to save that little accidental paste there, so and let's try this one again. Okay. Okay, that's the way I wanted it to show up. Now I'll save my edits. And you'll see why I made those edits later, just to show the end result. Okay, so now that that's all set, move that out of the way. Now, so how do I start making this map actually look like Bristol? Well, what I'm going to do is run the zoom to page. And what that will do, that's a script down here that actually runs the mapping program. And it won't change the layout position of anything yet. But what it will do is do all of the text updating and all of the mileage table generating so that when I do move them, I have a sense of what their sizes are, and that will be easier. So I'm just going to actually run the zoom to page first and specify the town that we're working with and let it generate. So if you watch the town of column, it should be replaced with Bristol. There we go. And the other text has been updated around the edges. So this time that I'm taking to walk through creating a new map for a new town in this new system is less time than it used to take us to update an MXD in the past. And so this is actually a very straightforward, easy process for us now. Okay, so succeeded. So now we have a mileage table that's been generated here, and I'm just going to click that and bring it onto the page. And I'm just going to put it there, and I'm not going to be very careful about layout. And I'm going to do the total mileage summaries, and I'll put them here. Grab the legend, put it here, and actually I can use snap to guides to actually make it a little easier and maybe make the lining up consistent. So I'm just clicking and dragging, and so now you might be wondering, so where's the map? Well, when we ran the script, it updated the definition queries for all of these layers that you can see in the table of contents here over at the left. These are all of the map data layers that we have in the main data frame. And I'm just going to pick one, and the definition queries that specify which town data is going to be shown, they were changed in the script, so I'm just going to actually zoom to the layer knowing that that's the only part of this that data that's being shown. And there we have it. But I want it to be a specific scale, so I'll change that. I realize things don't fit quite as well, so I can just move things around a little bit. And let's say I wanted to inset. I could actually take one inset, move it onto the page. I don't even have to worry about the scale bar and the text of the inset because in the script it puts the position of all those elements here relative to this inset, so I can just worry about that later. And just like I did zoom to page for the main data frame here, or zoom to layer, I can do that with the inset, but I have to go down to the inset data down here and just do the same thing. And rescale it. So I've got this inset right here, and I've got this inset here. I could position this around on the page. I could also change the view in the inset as well. And I'm not going to bother with making that any different than it is. Primarily because Bristol does not need an inset, so that we don't have our annotation at the proper scale for one. So this is just for a demonstration purpose. So let's just say this is the way I wanted the map, or at least the layout, and I would run the layout, set layout, page layout elements again. And I'm happy with the one column. Let it stay that way. And now, if I actually do the export to PDF again, I'm going to pick the same layout style. The year I happen to put it is 9010. And I'm just going to pick the map before it plus this map, just so that you can be convinced that it's not remembering what I have on the screen, that it will completely forget it, go back to another map, and then actually produce this map. And we should see that all the little elements that were associated with the inset that I didn't bother placing will have moved. So this is the other map that I just picked randomly to show another example of one that we haven't yet produced, but that we're in the process of it. And while that's running, I'll just get ready for the next thing I'll be showing you. So it has already exported the Bridport map and is now working on the Bristol map. And there is the Bristol map. And so I'm going to work my way to where the PDFs are exported, and the first one is already out. Now it saved these to a folder labeled by the year, which was a invented year for the purpose of development. And Bridport is already there. It's safe to look at it. Here we have the first map, and then hopefully Bristol will have finished running. There it is, ready and waiting. I'm going to wait till it refreshes completely on the other page before opening this. I don't want to interrupt its writing to the file. There we have it. And there's the new map with the new layout. And That is a worst case scenario for updating the map layout because we had nothing to go on. But since some of the maps that we've produced have been done in the last few years and are in MXD files that are recent enough that we can actually write scripts that will go and open up those MXDs and actually look at what the town is, what the data frame extents are and insets, and actually give us some text that we can then just cut and paste directly into our page layout elements table that we can then just paste directly into this table here before running. And then you don't have to actually manually bring things onto the page. So that one template does most of our maps. Now, the one thing that absolutely requires an additional template is to have a map that's on a different size page. So that was a 36 by 27, but we also have 4 other page sizes that we use. And we also have different templates for villages, urban compacts, and cities, partially because we changed the script a little bit for them, and we didn't want to alter our most straightforward version of the script, so we actually have a couple different versions. But if we update one, we can actually update all of them using Python scripts that will update things. That goes for the scripts and the templates. That we only have 11 MXD templates now, but because they are all so close in format, a script can automate any updates that we want to do with them so that we don't have to update all 11 templates. And so we have these 4 different versions of the scripts because villages require road names to be included on the maps, not just the town highway numbers. And so we could get away with doing this with only 5 different templates, but we've done it with a few more just to simplify some of the scripts for our use. And here's an example of the difference in the class 3 and 4 tables based on what we do for a village and what we do for a town. And that was one of the customizations we were able to make after this was delivered to us by Jeff Barrett. So, the benefits of our new highway mapping system. We have one core MXD structure and scripts. And even though we have several copies of it, we can easily update them together with scripts. Also, all of the mileage reports in the MXDs are based on the data directly. No intermediate software packages. So as long as the data is correct, the report is going to be correct. And because of the efficiency in exporting the PDFs, generating the layouts, and saving the layouts and being able to reuse them, we've already cut 2 months out of the process. And this is while we're actually still adopting the system and having some overhead in time. Because this is a data-driven map, if there's any problems with the data, we see it directly on the map, so everything's revealed. And that way we've been able to resolve a lot of issues that we didn't even know existed. And these scripts were all written in 10.1, the new version of ArcGIS. And so even though we're running them in ArcGIS 10.0, we know that they will work with the next version. Not only that, because we have a page layout elements table that is storing all of the information for where the layout elements are, if we do have to do updates to templates, we don't have to update all of the layout positions because that's saved in a table, and we can just change the template. So this year we have not only implemented, produced maps faster than before, but we were faster than before even while we were implementing the new system. And the other very nice bonus is that when Jeff Barrett came and gave us this script, he not only gave us a working script, but he taught us how to use it, how to understand it, and how to customize it. So we actually can go into the Python code and make it do what we want. We can change the templates how we want. And if there's something we want to do with it, we can do it now. So he didn't just feed us a wonderful product, he taught us how to fish. So,
Kerry, can I break in?
yeah.
It's just about 11:30, and I just want to make sure that people have a chance to ask questions before, in case they need to go. Would it be okay to start? First of all, encourage people to send in their questions if they have any at this point.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Please do.
And I do have one question already that I could throw at you, if that would be okay.
Okay, great. Yes, that would be good.
It's a simple one. So Jonathan asks, oh, I have to get it where I can read it again. What license level do you need in order to take advantage of this?
So this will work in 10.0 or 10.1.
But what license
level? Oh, the license level,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that requires the ArcInfo license, or any of the extra extensions.
If there's an ESRI person out there to confirm that, that would be great. Oh, here we go. I just noticed Jeff did.
Yeah.
ArcView. So is ArcView, that's the lowest level?
The most basic, yep.
Okay, so at the lowest level in 10.0, and Jeff confirms it needs to be 10.0. Great.
Yep.
Okay, so this is your chance if anybody has questions. Sometimes it takes a second for them to come in, and people could be typing. So
okay, while they're coming in, I'll just point out what's on the screen here. And because this was such a wonderful system and fairly straightforward, Jeff actually has posted on the ESRI website a kind of a template of the whole procedure. And he didn't use the VTrans data because it was pretty complicated and convoluted, but he has a simpler version of it. And you can go here, it's a zipped file, you download it and unzip it into a folder, and it's ready to go as long as you're running ArcGIS at any level. And he even has a README document with it that walks through how to use it, and a little challenge at the end that kind of encourages you how to create new layouts and add them to the layout table. And so it's kind of like a mini tutorial as well as a kind of a template for this kind of project. And the script itself is very short.
Okay, we do have another question
questions?
from David. Is the VTrans tool based on the Multiple Element Layout Manager published by ESRI at www.arcgis.com? And I guess if so, it seems like the PDF generator script is missing, and is it possible to get it? That sounds like it could be a question for Jeff also, if you feel like responding.
Well, as far as it being based, the Multiple Element Layout Manager is basically based on the project that Jeff did for us. And so it was, and that is why I'm assuming that ESRI was willing to work with us, because it helped them get a really good feel for what we needed in customizability. And so now they have a good idea, realized how useful it would be for other people, and now it's available for everybody. And as far as the PDF, Jeff can speak to that. I could also just, write up some lines of code that could be pasted in as well.
Okay. Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions. Oh, and David comments that this could be very helpful to them at UVM.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So I would like to thank, again, ESRI for all of the help, not just for pointing us in the right direction, who to talk to, and getting this up and underway, because it has helped us so much. And we not only have a wonderful, fun way to do town highway maps, but we also can, we're using the things we've learned from this to automate production of our route log straight line diagrams and writing scripts to make backups of files, to update MXDs, and a whole lot of our mapping process in general. So it's revolutionized everything.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Kerry. Excuse me.
Thank you too, Leslie.
Thank you. And so just to remind everyone, this webinar it has been recorded and will be posted at the VCGI website in the event archive section of the website. And if the email that you get from me or from the GoToWebinar tomorrow doesn't have the link to that, feel free to get back in touch with me to find out where it's posted. But I'll just go there really briefly. Oh, no, I'm not. Never mind. I'm not going to go there because you guys can't see me. So thank you, everybody, for participating. And please do fill out the little feedback survey that you're also going to get a link to or get in your follow-up email. I really appreciate it if you'd fill that out. It helps me to know what works and what doesn't work about the webinars. And also, if you have any ideas for webinar topics, I appreciate those. So, Kerry, thank you very much. And the next webinar will be next week. You can check the schedule. It's going to be about LiDAR. So if anybody's interested, make sure to sign up and register now. Thank you, everybody.
That's bound to be great.
Yes, it's Jarlath from UVM, so it is bound to be great. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day.